Yo, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to All Things Superman, where we simply talk about everything related to Superman, from comics to TV shows to movies and much, much more. So, happy Thursday, October 19th. We are exactly 1 month, or at least 4 calendar weeks, away from the release of Justice League. Now, we know that Justice League is released on November 17th, Friday, November 17th, but they will absolutely do a screening the night before on Thursday, November 16th, which makes today, again, 4 weeks, 4 calendar weeks away from the release of Justice League. And I could not be more excited. So, in this video today, I want to talk about my expectations for the movie, talk about what I think the movie is going to do, how it's going to perform, the Rotten Tomatoes score, how people are going to receive it, how all of the characters are going to work together, some of the plot details, and things of that nature. All right, so overall, my general expectation for this movie is that it's going to do pretty good. It's going to do really well. I don't see any issues that's going to hold it back from performing really well in terms of a comic book movie. It is going to have some competition up against Thor Ragnarok that's coming out 2 weeks before it. It's not going to have too much competition, but a lot, I think, does ride on the success of Thor Ragnarok. And as of now, as we're talking about this, Thor Ragnarok is still testing through the roof. So that's probably going to be a good turnout in that movie, which is probably going to get a little spillover into Justice League, and it's going to get a lot of those, just regular comic book movie fans or superhero movie fans in to see Justice League. Now, also, Justice League is one of these movies that a lot of people have been waiting for a long time. A lot of people like myself. So I just think the overall intrigue of it alone is going to get people in the theater. Now, whether or not people actually like the movie and enjoy it is, generally speaking, and I'm just really talking about the general movie going audience, along with a lot of the movie pundits and movie critics and things like that. That remains to be seen. I think in terms of, and I'm basing this off everything that all of the other comic book movies in the DCEU, well, whatever we're going to call the DC Cinematic Universe now, have done. I mean, Man of Steel was, generally received well, but there was still a lot of polarizing, you know, responses to that movie. So, people, and then of course, versus Superman. Batman versus Superman. We already know how that turned out. A lot of people were turned off by that. A lot of the critics, went in really hard on that movie. A lot of the general movie going audience generally liked it, but they were kind of thrown off because, again, the sort of juxtaposition with this sort of darkish movie versus a lot of the Marvel movies that they had seen before, with all of the bright colors and, funny moments and stuff like that. And then you get this really serious comic book movie. So again, I think generally overall the movie is going to do pretty well. As far as box office expectations, I think opening weekend it's going to do upwards of $100 million. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't. I don't see any reason that's or anything that's going to hold it back from doing $100 million. It doesn't have any real competition opening up against it the weekend that it opens. So I think it's going to get a lot of people in the theater, and I think it's going to do upwards of $100 million. Now, there's one caveat to that, though. I do think that DC needs to, at this point, really start ramping up their marketing campaign for this movie because, again, I'm a little concerned about the marketing. I don't think the marketing has been, just spot on like it's been for past movies. I remember when in 2013 when Man of Steel came out, there was a killer marketing strategy for that movie. They had, all of these posters in Walmart. They had all of these, games and apps and stuff that you could download with Man of Steel on it and all of that. And it was just an internet frenzy. And I think they did a really, really good job marketing that. And it was months, at least 2 or 3 months before the movie came out. They start, all of the official gear, the T-shirts and, apparel and all of that kind of stuff had come out. Now, and the same thing, I guess a lot of the same thing happened with Batman versus Superman. Not as much as it did with Man of Steel, but, to some extent it did. Now, with this movie, though, we haven't even really seen an official, T-shirt. I think a lot of companies have T-shirts with like Justice League logos and stuff on it like that. But I don't think Warner Brothers has come out and said This is our official apparel. This is our official, toys, things of that nature. I checked on Amazon a few days ago for the movie soundtrack, and they haven't even officially released the movie soundtrack yet. Now, for Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel, I had the movie soundtrack. I think I got the Man of Steel soundtrack before, maybe like a week before um, Man of Steel came out, and then the same thing with Batman versus Superman. But they had it where you could pre-order it and you would get it like the week before the movie came out. With Justice League, when I checked Amazon, it looks like the soundtrack is going to come out after the movie comes out. So that's kind of weird. So again, it's just a few things that I'm worried about with this marketing campaign. I do think that they need to ramp that marketing campaign up. I think they need to get some steam behind this movie. Um, they're probably going to screen this movie probably within the next few weeks. I'm guessing probably like the week before they're going to start screening the movie. So we'll get a lot of internet, pundits and stuff talking about the movie, giving their overall, expectations or thoughts about the movie. I'm actually going to go dark. Like that week, I don't want to see, and I've been doing that for the past few comic book movies. I did the same thing with Wonder Woman and a few others as well. I just want to go dark because I don't want to hear anybody's interpretations or thoughts about the movie before I see it myself. Because what I found for me, and this is I kind of believe this is true for a lot of other people too, but what I found to be true for me is that I think those opinions kind of I don't know, kind of tarnish my perspective or my perception when I go see the movie, because I'll listen to what a lot of people will be saying, even if it's like general comments. Hey, the movie was really good, or hey, I don't didn't like the movie, or was like this, and they start saying specific things, and I'm gonna go in probably with that in my mind, and it's either gonna do one of two things. It's either gonna make me say, um, I'm it's either going to make me look for those things and agree with people, or it's going to make me put my bias in there and say these people are just being dumb. You know what I mean? And it doesn't always do that, and generally it doesn't. I'm usually able to check those biases and stuff like that. That generally doesn't happen, but I just for this movie, and for like a lot of the Superman movies and stuff that'll be coming out, and all of the Justice League Part 2 and all of that, I just don't want to chance that. So what I'm saying is, like the week before the movie, I'm literally going completely dark. I'm cutting all my YouTube notifications off, all of that kind of stuff before the movie comes out. Now, as far as the Rotten Tomato score that Justice League is going to get when it comes out, when it's released, and what all of the movie critics are going to say about it, it's kind of a difficult one to kind of forecast. Because what I'm going to say is probably based off past DC movies. And I really do think that a lot of writers and a lot of critics for Rotten Tomatoes, and all of us in general, we all do this, but our perception of this movie is going to be largely based off, how DC movies have performed in the past. And it's going to be based off how, that in comparison to how movies like Thor Ragnarok is going to perform and the score that it's going to get. So if I had to just guess, on the Rotten Tomato score and what it's going to do, I'm going to say, and again, this is just largely based off past history with DC movies. I think it's going to do probably between 60 and 70 on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, here's the thing about that. I don't think this. You may say that 60 and 70 is a not so good score on Rotten Tomatoes, and that could or could not be true. But what I'm saying is, I do think that the biases of against DC movies is going to ride a lot on the Rotten Tomato score. I do not believe, and here's my honest opinion about the critics. A lot of us movie critics and movie pundits that do things online. I don't think any of us come from this completely unbiased, I'm just going to see this movie on its own. I'm neither a fan, I'm neither for nor against DC. I'm neither for nor against Marvel. I'm completely going to wipe everything out go into this movie with, this really clear mindset of, letting everything in the past go that has happened and judge this movie on its own merits. Now, as noble as that may sound for a lot of people, and a lot of us like to think that we do that. I don't think that most of us are capable of letting go of certain biases when we go into this movie. And to add to that, a lot of the movie critics depend on clicks, likes, and subscribes to what they do. Now, even if even if some of the critics do go into this movie and say, put most of their biases down, which again I'm like, okay, I'm unsure if everybody can do that. But let's just say it's true. Let's give everybody the benefit of the doubt and say it's true. They go in and put these biases down. Well, what happens, even when they start writing about the movie, even when they start reviewing the movie, a lot of those biases kick back in simply because they want to get likes and subscribes. So they'll sensationalize something. So let's just say there's one little part of the movie that, they don't like. Let's just say, whatever the Superman reveal will be in this movie, how Superman will be revealed. Let's just say that's a part of the movie that critics and pundits don't like. Well, it'll be something like, instead of them saying, the movie was really good, but there was a big part in there that was a reveal that didn't pay off for me. It's stuff, or something like that. Instead of them saying that, it'll be more sensationalized. They'll start saying stuff like, oh, the movie was as I expected. DC fell through the roof. And it was this, monstrosity of a reveal of Superman, which made the movie go downhill. It'll be like really sensationalized. And, they, even when you're writing stuff like that, you start to hear, when you're thinking and when you're writing and when you're typing reviews like that, you start to hear that stuff in your mind. And guess what happens when you put whatever your overall rating of the movie is? That kind of stuff goes into the movie, into that rating. Now, I'm talking about a lot of, conceptual psychological stuff here, but I think it does apply to, what we're talking about when it goes into critics giving this Rotten Tomatoes score. So, I think it's going to sit somewhere between 60 and 70 on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm hoping that it'll do better than that. I think the success of Wonder Woman is probably going to give it a little push, or that could backfire as well, because Wonder Woman performed so well and it had such a good score on Rotten Tomatoes that, it's going to give that juxtaposition of people saying, oh man, Wonder Woman had this, but oh my God, DC and Justice League just fell off here, and then, people will start giving it this horrible score. But if I just had to guess, I'm going to say 60 to 70 on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, as far as plot details for this movie, I think that the movie's going to be pretty straightforward, as we've pretty much heard. I think the synopsis is already out. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. I don't think it's going to be, this anything that we've gotten differently outside of the marketing campaign. I think what DC has done really, really well, in this universe thus far, is that their marketing has pretty much matched what they've, said in the movies. Now, there's a lot of arguments that you can make with, Batman versus Superman. A lot of people expected something different from Batman versus Superman. But me personally, if you looked at the trailers and if you saw what was really happening in the trailers, you saw this kind of darkish, tone and, more of a serious type of movie. You saw that in the trailers. Now, a lot of people was thinking, well, they showed a lot of the action. They showed this, Batman, jumping off something, and everybody thought it was Superman shooting his, laser vision at him, all that kind of stuff. And they thought it was going to be this really insane action movie, but they got a lot more of a story and a lot more of a serious movie. So anyway, I do think that the movie Justice League is going to be a pretty straightforward movie. Now, I do think there's going to be, if I'm right about this, and here's what I'm basing this off. I think DC has started to listen a whole lot, as apparent, in the trailers and a lot of the marketing that they've done for this movie so far. I think that they started to listen to a lot of what people are saying and, that they don't like about this DC universe. And I think they've made some subtle adjustments, with that. So with that being said, I do think that there's going to be something about this movie that we have not heard yet. I think there's some kind of secret that they're keeping about this movie. It could possibly be, like Green Lantern, some kind of Green Lantern reveal or something like that, or a character that or something that we're just not expecting. I do think there's going to be like that moment in there where something is going to happen where it's just like, whoa, where did that come from? This is going to blow everybody away. At least I guess that's what I'm hoping for. Um, and again, my suspicion is that that has something to do with one of the other Justice League members, the one that has been missing from all of this thus far, which is Green Lantern. Now, if that's true, if it's true that they've been hiding Green Lantern from us, bravo DC Universe. That will be probably the best kept secret in a movie universe ever. Even anything compared to like Star Wars, that will be like the best. If they have kept Green Lantern a secret up until this movie gets released, nobody has had any suspicion about it. Nobody has said anything about it. Nobody has, had some strange video that showed up online where they were on the movie set and, it was some guy that possibly could have been Green Lantern. We've got none of that. If we get a Green Lantern in this movie and they've kept that on the wraps, hey, DC, you've done it, babe. You have done it. Like, that is it. So, but with that being said, I do think it's going to be something. I'm not sure it's going to be Green Lantern. If we were just betting on odds about something, I would probably put my money on it would be something like a Green Lantern reveal or something about the, Green Lantern Corp or, something in that nature to let us know that that's coming. Um, or, they may go totally left field as well and give us, one of the more classic characters that's been in Justice League, incarnations in the past, or, Super Friends incarnations or something like that. We may get a Hawkman or a Hawk Girl or, somebody like that that's been, a part of the Justice League. I really would like to see something like that. That would be really cool if they went just kind of left field and gave us something like that with this movie. Although, like I said, I don't think it's going to be that. I think they're going to concentrate heavily because, as the marketing has shown, as the trailers have shown, they're really concentrating heavily on, these characters that's in there now: Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg. They've been concentrating a lot on them, so I don't think there's a whole lot of room for them to put a different storyline up against these characters that's already in there because they have to serve these characters already that's in there. So I don't think it's going to be that. Maybe we may get some kind of credit scene or after credit scene or something like that. That's DC hasn't generally been doing that. Maybe they'll start something new where it'll be some kind of reveal or something after the movie or some kind of promo or something after the movie. I don't know. But I do think that there's going to be some kind of reveal in this movie that's going to give us that. But other than that, I do think that the movie is going to be pretty straightforward from, the plot details that we've already gotten from the movie and all of the details that we've gotten from it thus far. Now, the other part of this, I think that there's, as with all of the rest of the movies, there's going to be some haters of this movie. There's still some DC haters out there. And to be fair, there's haters on both sides. There's Marvel haters and there's DC haters as well. But I think, again, just like all the rest of these DC movies that have come out, that kind of polarizes, the differences between those DC and Marvel fans. And I think it's going to do the same thing with this movie. I think, you're going to get a uprising of, a lot of people bashing the movie, not saying that it was good. Generally speaking, especially if it sits on Rotten Tomatoes, where I said between that 60 and 70, and it's not hitting like an 80 or 90, especially if 2 weeks prior Thor Ragnarok hits like an 80 or 90 on, Rotten Tomatoes, trust me, and then Justice League gets like a 60 or 70, people, the haters are going to use that as their ammunition. You're going to get a lot of people talking about it. It's to me now it's become part of the process. I'm not even expecting anything differently. I do think that Marvel and DC thing has kind of died down a little bit, but again, when movies come out like this, especially with a Marvel movie and a DC movie coming out so close together, you're going to get some, just that split again. These movies are going to come in and give that split between the fans. And I'm going to see Thor Ragnarok. I'll see it a couple of weeks before as well. I'm probably going to do the same thing as I mentioned earlier. I'm probably going to go dark right before that movie comes out as well. Generally because I don't want to be, like I stated, I don't want my perception to be kind of skewed by that. But I think Thor Ragnarok is going to be a good movie, but I also think Justice League is going to be a good one. I long for the day where we can all just kind of go sit in the movie theater and be like, hey, I just really, really want to see a good movie. I may be a more of a DC fan, I may be more of a Marvel fan, but at the same time, I love all of these movies and I support them, and I want the comic book movie genre to do really well, and that includes DC and Marvel and whatever other comic book movie universe that comes out and start making movies. So yeah, I do. I think we're going to get a lot of haters of the movie if that score is what I say it is, and even if it's not, even if it's closer to Justice League does like an 80 or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes. I think again it's going to bring a lot of those haters out, and that's something that we can expect with these movies, and it's just something that's become to be the norm. So just watch out for that. Let's watch how we relate to each other, how we talk to each other when we're discussing these movies. In comment sections on blogs and YouTube channels and stuff like that. Let's be, friendly and cordial to each other. Now, we can be as passionate as we want. I'll probably call somebody, hey, man, you're stupid if you're saying that, something like that. But, all under the auspices of, we have the understanding that, it's okay for you to like a movie or dislike a movie. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to put that out there so when this movie comes out, because this has been the case in the past where, things like this have happened. So let's just be careful about that. Now, another thing that I think is going to happen is after this movie is released, not too long after it's released, probably maybe within the first week or two of release, I think we're going to get an announcement about, the DC universe going forward. I think that DC may have made some significant changes. I think we may get an announcement about, a new Superman movie, a new Man of Steel movie, especially when they reveal him in, Justice League. I think we'll get some announcements about that. I think they will probably come out and say something official about Ben Affleck being Batman or not being Batman and moving forward in that universe and who's going to be it. Well, that may be something that they may not immediately do, but it probably will be something that's going to happen not too long after the movie is released. I think they're going to kind of, if Ben Affleck is no longer Batman, I think that's something that they're going to jump on top of really quickly, especially if there's some performance kind of issues with Ben Affleck in this Justice League movie. If people start to say like, he's kind of phoning in his performance and stuff like that he doesn't really seem there, which I doubt. I think Ben Affleck always brings it, but just if hypothetically speaking, in the case that something happens like that, I think DC is going to jump on top of it really quickly, and they're going to start saying stuff about that. I just hope that they don't try to, tell us some stories and, give us a cleanup story and say, hey, everything is okay, when it's really not. Just let us know what's going on, So, but I do think, like I say, after this movie, we're going to get a few announcements. We're going to get some things with them telling us, what's going to happen with the DC Cinematic Universe, or whatever you want to call this universe now. They send that DCEU is not the official name. So, just for lack of a better way to describe it, the DCEU, whatever I think they're gonna give us some information about that universe going forward. I think all of the characters in this movie are going to perform really well. I think Flash and Aquaman are kind of testing through the roof. They seem to be, in the trailers, giving them a lot of, trailer time. Even, against Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman has a lot of time and stuff in the trailers too, because that's the movie that we're coming off, the last DC movie. But, Flash and Aquaman have, been doing their thing as well. So we'll see. I think they may announce maybe who's going to be playing Green Lantern, if we're going to get him or not, if there's going to be a Green Lantern movie. I think they will probably finally give us some more information about this Shazam movie that may or may not be coming. We kind of don't know. They'll probably tell us something about the Flash movie that's coming. That's being worked on. So we'll probably get some announcements after this movie is made, just to let us know where this universe is going. And I think it's time that they kind of come out now and let us know everything that's happening with this universe and where it's going. So overall, I think Justice League is going to be a really good movie. I'm not expecting anything differently. I'm really anxious to see this movie. I'm ready to go sit down and enjoy it, with a bowl of popcorn or whatever. this is a movie for me. I think, as I stated this in one of my prior videos, for me, this is the movie. This is the one movie that I have really been waiting to see my entire life. I grew up watching, Super Friends, the cartoon with, all the Justice League characters, and then into Justice League, the New 52, everything. I've always been into this universe, and I've always thought that, this is the one, group of superheroes that I would love to see in a movie. I remember even thinking that as a kid. And you got to imagine that this was before this whole comic book superhero movie sort of revelation that we've had since the early thousands, since around 2005 or so, or 2004. Before that happened, there a lot of these, us thinking that a lot of these movies would be made was just like, like that's not even possible. They will never do something like that. All the movies we had gotten thus far as the Christopher Reeve Supermans, and then the Tim Burton Batman, and all of that kind of stuff. And, those are kind of far in between. So, from the mid 90s on up into the early thousands, there was really not a whole lot of comic book stuff happening, with the exception of X-Men. X-Men had come out. And with that kind of actually, and I think Blade had come out too. I can't remember what year Blade came out, maybe around 99, 2000 or something like that. But even with that, like I said, that didn't spark anybody's thing that we were going into this, whole extended cinematic universe of, superhero characters. So anyway, again, for me, this is a movie that I've been waiting to see my entire life. I just cannot wait to see the movie. I'm going to go into it with, all of my biases down, or at least I'm going to try to. My bias is already, I'm going to love this movie. And I really want to judge this movie based on its own merit. I'm going to try my best to take it as it's given to me. So, like I say, overall, guys, I really want a really good movie. I hope this movie is going to perform well, because I think it'll determine a lot of what's going to happen with DC going forward. But, you guys let me know. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this movie. What are you thinking about, the Rotten Tomatoes score, how it's going to do in Rotten Tomatoes? What's the box office number that is going to hit, opening weekend? And what do you think it's going to do overall as far as, the amount of money that it's going to make, worldwide, not only domestically, but worldwide? How do you think that's going to perform? Let me know down in the comment section. Again, thank you guys for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, listen, seriously, if you have not subscribed to the channel and you're watching this, go down there and hit that subscribe button. As we're getting closer and closer to this movie, I'm releasing more and more videos. We're going to talk about a lot of this stuff objectively, as we always do. So you're not going to want to miss that. So jump down in that comment section. Let me know what you're thinking, and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And I will see you guys in the next video.